Hi everybody. Today, this is Shulamit. Sorry, I'm so excited about the subject that I forgot to say my name. Here I am, Shulamit, personal transformation specialist, EFT specialist, intuitive clairsentient, and more. You can learn about my work through my website, which I will put in the description when I upload this. And you can always leave comments. You can ask me questions through Facebook and iMessage, or you can call me at 973-259-1988. So ShulamitLazarus.com is the website. It is being updated as we speak. So you're coming in a modern page and then going into something that's ancient, where people used to read a lot. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about something juicy, and I put on like a special necklace for the subject because I'm excited to share this with you. All right, so everybody knows about the law of attraction. At this point, it's gone totally mainstream. It's everywhere. And I want to talk about the law of attraction and sex magic. I want to talk about how that works. So I want to help you understand from a scientific perspective, because I always want to fill in the foundation of the subject, and so that you can grasp it better and then like really be able to feel like you've got your feet in it. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about is what people call the law of attraction and what it's based on. I'm going to go back to something called the double slit experiment. And the double slit experiment was an experiment that was done where, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to say photons, although they may say particles when you look it up. So I want you to imagine that there was a surface with two slits, okay? And beams of light particles, photons, were shot through, and a surface on the other side which received those particles. Now, at times it would have two slits of light particles. At other times it was a scatter. And they couldn't figure out what was the difference. Like, why is it sometimes two slits and at other times a scatter? And the reason for that, they realized, was that, not the reason, I'm not going to jump to the reason, but I'm going to say the observation they made is, the only different factor in there is a counter. So there was something that was actually counting those particles. That meant, in essence, that something was observing this surface, right? Observing. So what they extrapolated from that is that when there's an observer, it comes up as two slots of light beams. But when there isn't an observer, it's scattered. So what does that say? That has huge implications, which means that our intentional awareness of something, our observation of something, actually changes phenomenon, which is huge. It makes us extremely powerful, which is why it's so important to clear things that you're carrying that are dragging you down, because you are actually creating reality. So I really don't call it the law of attraction. I actually call it the law of creation, but people are used to it as the law of attraction. But that's really a passive experience, that you're attracting something, as opposed to really being part of the phenomenon that you're experiencing, which means that you are, on some level, partnership with it, right? You're in partnership having it come about. All right, so so we have these two surfaces, and now we notice that if there's an observer, it shows up as two slits, and if there isn't an observer, it's scattered. The implications of that is that when you observe something, somehow you freeze it. Now, if you think in terms of everything that is expressing in form or not form, backed by consciousness, some kind of intelligence that unfolds the bud into a rose and the guppy into a big fish and the baby into an adult, it has this knowing inside the form of what it's going to be, right? So there's this intelligence, which I'll call God or the great mystery or that or the source. So whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. So then what happens is that somehow you're interacting, you with your intelligence, you're interacting with another intelligence that is in partnership creating an experience. What we know is that when we hold something with tremendous emotional intensity, it magnetizes more than if we have a neutral thought. So, we can use that. Certainly, we use it negatively because we end up attracting, right, through the law of attraction, as people say, attracting a reality, a relationship, a job situation, a money situation, of scarcity, whatever it is that we're attracting, if we're in a negative set of beliefs around the thing that we're wanting to create for ourselves, we attract something that we don't want, right? And that's because the subconscious mind is the governing factor of everything. And the subconscious mind is a field. It's not a place, it's a field. It's a field of intelligence. It's a field of consciousness. It's a field that holds all of your information from all of your experiences, all your thoughts, all your conclusions, all your core beliefs, everything. And that subconscious field is in direct connection to the universal field. So that consciousness that we call the universal field, or God, is in intimate connection with your subconscious mind because it is expressing as everything. It is expressing as your body. It is expressing as your feelings. It is expressing as you. There is no separation between the universal field and your subconscious mind. There is no separation between the universal field and you. So, when you have things that you put emotional intensity on, you're creating a magnetic pull to the situation or the thought or the core belief, right? Magnetic pull, and which is why we say when we want to manifest something to envision it with all of our senses really, really intensely. Our seeing and our hearing and our feeling the textures and imagining as if something is already happening and allowing your body and your cells to feel the truth of that from head to toe. Everything is about intensity, emotional intensity. The more emotionally intense, the more emotionally magnificent that you can make something, the more you're calling forth that into form. First, it is actually in a template. It's an energetic pattern, so it's a template of something that is possible, because everything that is possible is already here. And all information is already here. For anybody who has listened to my video many years ago that I made about my tremor and clearing the tremor of 8 years in 3 hours with tapping, and I want to talk about that in another video. All these videos are teaching videos. I think you get that anyway. So I always expand into other subjects. But I want to talk about that in another video on how that works and how we're able to access the field and the information it has. And so the emotionalizing of something, right? The emotionalizing of something creates a magnetic pull to it. The template is out there. It's in the future. It's a possibility. It's a probability, right? It's a quantum probability in the quantum field of possibilities. And what ends up happening is that as you observe it, which means that as you intend upon it, as you focus on it, you're actually pulling that quantum probability into a more ossified state. So we can use that. And we can use that to manifest what we want through using sexual energy. So this is not something that has anything to do with age. Your sexuality has nothing to do with age, because people that are doing Qigong and that are, always, clearing their stuff and normalizing their field and making it stream are quite sexual, because it's our natural state. Our natural state is to be easily arousable. And so you can talk to people, and I've certainly experienced this in terms of Qigong. I've been doing soaring crane Qigong now for over 20 years, that when the currents of energy move in the body, there is an arousing experience to it. And that's a good sign. That means you're vital, yeah? Okay. So your sexuality is really an expression of the creative urge that is always expressing itself in the universe. It is always, always expressing itself in the universe. And it is expressing through you. So it's expressing through you to want to do a piece of art, or expressing through you to want to do a business plan, or come up with an idea, or cook a cake, or whatever it is. It's always expressing through you. It's always expressing in sexuality, not only for reproductive reasons, but actually energy that is consciousness that can be used in a very powerful way to create what you want. So, also, this doesn't need to be done in partnership. So it has nothing to do with whether you're alone or with somebody. You can use your sexual energy to explore consciousness at any time you want, with or without a partner. It's actually a magnificent way to explore consciousness. But I'm going to talk about it, or to explore, or to play with your consciousness, and see what you can do with it. But I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of using it and how to use it to manifest what you want. So we now know that we have the ability to bring something into a state of being more a concrete form, more of a concrete reality, by intending on it, right? So we have the double slit experiment, we understand that. And emotionalizing it intensifies the focus. So if you're emotional about something, you'll notice that people will say it matters. Why are they saying it matters? What's the it? Matters. It's an understanding that is going on in language in our society without people really thinking about it. And what that means is that the very attention that you put on something actually starts making something substantial out of it. So there's an understanding that emotional intensity and something coming into form is somehow connected. So what we want to do is we want to use that. So the process then is that we're going to use this emotional intensity that is in the sexual experience, again, either solo or partnered, to focus intense energy to propel something into manifestation. And the point at which the intensity is the strongest is right before orgasm. So this takes some disciplining, right? It takes some disciplining. It takes some preparation. So right before orgasm is boom, right? That's the most intense moment. You're completely open and you're completely intense in terms of your energies, hugely intense in terms of your energies, also very, very pointed at the same time, very, very focused at the same time. And then it becomes like a diving board, right? Boom, into orgasm, and there you have the manifestation. So I want to help you set that up, to understand how to set that up. And that is that the first thing you need to do is get very clear on what it is you want to manifest. You have to know it in all of its details. You have to have practiced it, feeling it as if it is already done. You'll notice that in prayer, and it's kind of interesting when I look at religions and certain things that are commonalities. In prayer, you have at the end amen, right? Which actually comes from the word emunah, which is a Hebrew word of I believe, or belief, right? And where is that from? That comes from the heart. The beliefs are actually held in the heart. And how do we know these things? How do we know that these things are held in the heart? Is one of the evidences that we have is that when there are heart transplants or heart-lung transplants, it has been experienced that the person changed their food and their music, and even potentially at times their sexuality has shifted just from getting that other person's heart, because that cellular memory was in their heart. And the cellular memory then goes into the recipient's body and starts affecting the field of the recipient with the field of the heart. And a wonderful book about that is called The Heart's Code by Dr. Paul Pearsall. Amazing. Implications are huge. So I highly encourage you to read it, because it's a very, very exciting and very, very powerful book. But anyway, so we know that the heart holds the beliefs, right? If we strongly hold a belief with all the intensity and the emotion and the senses, the being able to see it and hear it and feel it and smell it as if it is already now, right? And you've heard people say, and it is done. It's not enough just to say those words, right? Prayer doesn't work because you say words. Prayer works because you're actually experiencing every single word and holding your experience as if it is already now. Because the universe will keep everything out of form. It will keep it just out of reach, right? This will happen. The universe doesn't know this will. This is already happening. The only difference is that it hasn't outpictured yet in concrete reality, right? It hasn't outpictured yet in concrete reality. So, what you're going to do then is you're going to image exactly what it is that you want as if you already happened. I did that, as if it already happened. I did that twice, not knowing the power of this work. I did it once with a check, one of those $3 things that you get in the mail, and you're like, what am I going to do with $3? Add some more zeros. You know what I mean? That's what I did. And I held it every single night. I held it, I felt it. What does it feel like to have this amount of money? You know, what would I be doing? How would I be different? You know, what would life be like? All of it, that, especially that emotional state, right? The most important thing is that the emotional state of what it would be like as if it's happening right now. And then I did it every single night, and somehow I dropped it. So years later, something happened, and practically exactly that amount showed up in my life. I did the same thing with, ended up getting a car that way, which I didn't intend. I was thinking about building my house upstate. I have some land upstate, and I kept wanting to build my house upstate. And at the time, I didn't have the funds for it. However, I kept envisioning the house and holding that wealth in an experience of a red car. To me, at that time, a red car symbolized the lushness and the richness and so on, and had pigskin kind of leather, not actually leather, I wouldn't want that, but pigskin kind of leather, very, very soft inside, and this red car that was like really bright and shiny and everything. And I kept imaging it. And when we say imaging, we're not talking about only visualizing, because some people are visual, other people are auditory, other people are kinesthetic. Usually there's a strength of one or two, and then one that's not as dominant. But when you do imagery, you're actually bringing something to mind that is not there yet. Bringing it to mind, you'll enter it in however it is comfortable for you. So for me, as a clairsentient and highly auditorily intuitive, I get the hearing, and most of all, I get the kinesthetic of it. All right? But other people are visual, so they'll see it. It doesn't matter. The important thing is you enter it, and then other senses get pulled in, and you experience it all, right? You experience all the senses in your imagery. And then what happens is I was focusing on that state through the symbolism of the car. So I kept feeling the car and seeing the car, and just textures and so on. And then when I needed a car and then I dropped it because I didn't realize the power of it. That was many years ago. And then years later, when I needed a new car, there was only a red car available. That was it. There was no other. It was crazy, but it was true. I had manifested a red car years later. Okay? So now we want the power of it to be used for you now, right? So don't give up, because what ends up happening is that when you emotionalize a thought, it's like you're creating a thought seed. And if you think about the subconscious mind as soil, right? Soil's job is just to grow the seed. We're not thinking about the subconscious mind. You can think about the universal mind. They're all connected anyway. So the field's job as soil is just to grow the seed. It doesn't care whether it's a mustard seed or a rose seed or a weed seed. It doesn't care. It's going to grow whatever you put in. So if you get this seed in there and then you ignore it, after a while, it's just going to disintegrate. It's not going to be taken care of. Okay? It's not going to grow into anything. Because when you ignore it, what ended up happening is that you either went into doubt or some kind of belief that it wasn't going to happen. And so you let it go. That belief of it not happening creates another seed, right? Because it's a belief. Beliefs are emotionally held thoughts, right? So that creates another seed, and then that seed squashes out. So sorry about that. that seed then squashes out what you were trying to plant. Sorry. So what we want to do is to make sure that we understand how that works. So we don't want to rip it out and see, did it grow? Because when you start pulling out the roots of something, you've already stopped it from growing. And we don't want to ignore it because we doubt it's going to happen by putting other seeds in there that supersede. Basically, it's a weed, right? So we don't put all those weeds in there to stop that beautiful plant that you're planting from growing. So stay with it. Don't let it go. Don't do what I did. I didn't know how powerful this work is, right? I do now. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to hold that vision. You're going to practice feeling that, because the more you practice, the stronger the field gets around that thing that you're wanting, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to prepare your mind before you're going to be sexually exploring or bringing that sexual energy up. The most important thing is that you're going to have that at the ready. And then what you're going to do is hold it knowing that you're going to bring it up right before orgasm. Then, right before orgasm, you're like, here's my image. You're feeling the state completely, and bam, you release it into the universe. Okay? So, you're magical, you're amazing, you're powerful, and now I've given you a tool to play with manifestation. I can't imagine a more enjoyable way to create things in your life. I send you love, I send you blessings, and I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.